The United States and Israel officially bombed Iran. There's a huge war breaking out. Obviously, the head of Iran has been assassinated, allegedly. And I want to just talk about the implications on the investing markets, crypto markets, stocks, metals, oil, all that kind of stuff. So before I get into this, make sure you subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Everything I say here is very time sensitive. And I'm going to be updating you guys with what I'm doing as far as my investing strategy going into this, right? Because it is very unfortunate. I hate to see that there is just no peace going on around the world. This is not what I think most Americans signed up for. There's a lot of questions whether, why are we even involved in this conflict? But this is not a political channel. I just want to get into the nitty and gritty of the investing because unfortunately, war is very, very profitable. And usually it's a really, really good buying opportunity. If you go basically until the end of time, every single war has basically sparked a massive wave of inflation, money printing, just, skyrocketing of just any kind of assets, right? So whenever it comes to this, unfortunately, there's always going to be a massive capitulation. There's always just mass panic, understandably so, right? And so just to kind of summarize, because I don't want to go into this like too long, I'm going to be making probably like a series of this because in my opinion, this whole war conflict is going to be very ongoing. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors with the whole, canals that are going to be shut off, these prices of oil spiking. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, we basically hit Venezuela first, right? Massive oil kind of reserves. Trump's been wanting to just like drill, baby drill, basically. I don't think that that's by design, or I think it is by design, I should say. I don't think it's by accident. Not to mention the whole Mexican government cartel kind of being attacked. Now we see Iran, and there's just a lot of stuff kind of going on across the board. And so what I do think is going to happen, because obviously Bitcoin kind of reacted negative, right when the whole like kind of war broke out, whenever the kind of bombing was going on. Obviously it's kind of held kind of steady right over the weekend. Obviously crude oil is now up right now. We're seeing the futures kind of going up. The US dollar is starting to surge. And like I said, I think that this is all going to be manufactured. And I think that there is a master plan going on. And so wherever you are in the world, I do think that the assets are overall going to go up from here. Obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of volatility short-term in the stock market. And that's why I always preach, like, don't be over leveraged. Don't do any sort of like loaning or taking on like, debt to basically buy stuff. But, if you do have cash on the side, me personally, I have been using this as a dollar cost averaging opportunity. I've been dollar cost averaging throughout the whole bear market of crypto. I think that some stocks do look attractive. The whole like Anthropic kind of, I guess you could call it drama is kind of going on. But apparently the US government used Anthropic's Claude to basically facilitate these sort of strikes and the assassination of the leader of Iran, right? So very weird to see how that's all playing out. I think that if any indication, like this whole like AI bubble, especially with the OpenAI announcement that they're going to be basically partnering with the government of the United States, which, you can make your opinions on that. I don't think that they're going to go anywhere, right? And so personally, what I'm doing is, I think it's always worth, like, I've never been a precious metal guy. Like, I don't really care much for oil, like that kind of stuff. I don't really trade so much on those futures. But I do think that if you've been in, gold and silver, I know that there's a lot of people that could even be older on this channel that kind of watch the content. Obviously, gold and silver, precious metals, I think that they're going to continue to catch a bid. There's a lot of funny stuff kind of going on with the whole, sort of, options trading futures because it's skyrocketing, and it's pretty much been manipulated and suppressed for probably about 50 years at this point. And I think that the kind of mask is getting taken off of how much it's been suppressed with the whole like paper trading of, commodities, right? And so I think that something with Bitcoin, obviously it's been suppressed, and there's been a lot of drama with like Jane Street. There's been a lot of other like talking heads, bank institutions, all that kind of stuff. I do think that crypto could be looked at as a safe haven, especially for these like foreign countries that are going to be taking on a lot of just like catastrophic damage, right? Because whenever it comes to their currencies, usually what happens is they tend to get devalued. And I've been saying that I think that we're in a currency war alongside all this like, international and geopolitical conflict. And so typically what ends up happening is that's why you see the rise of these precious metals, because there's just so much, fear and trust being broken within the system. And so people are basically trading their dollars or their country's currency for things like, metal, even Bitcoin and crypto, because that's basically a universal currency, right? And you can make your own opinions, and you can, obviously people are saying like, oh, Bitcoin's not a store of value, or it's not comparable to gold. That's fine. I'm still of the opinion that I think that there's going to be a very attractive sort of bet to be had here, right? Because I think that when you look at the whole landscape of things, obviously gold and silver, they're pretty much near all-time highs, right? Bitcoin's down about 30-40%. That can be for whatever reason you want to kind of come up with. I don't really subscribe to all the short-term narratives. I think that that's all just, psychology playing on most of people's investing strategies. So long term, I'm very, very bullish on gold, silver, copper, other precious metals, but I don't think that the risk reward for me is going to be there short term, just because it's already rallied so much, right? I've always been somebody who's been involved in crypto since 2016. Very, very bullish on the outlook of Bitcoin and crypto. And when you look at the whole treasury and how they're basically minting all these stable coins and putting basically the treasuries that are going to be used to basically back all this kind of stuff, right? I think that that's why the US government is trying to facilitate all of basically the USDC stable coins and the stable coin, on and off ramps. Obviously AI also now with Anthropic and Claude and all that kind of stuff with OpenClaw. There's a lot of speculation that, you can't really do all this kind of KYC and banking stuff whenever it comes to these peer-to-peer payments or just even these artificial intelligent bots transacting. So I think that that's also going to be another use case for stable coins with crypto. And so I do think that they're going to try to do something with the debt of the United States when it comes to these payment systems and stable coins and the issuance of all this sort of stable coins, right? And the minting of USDC on both Solana, Ethereum, it's even on Tron, etc., right? So again, unfortunately, war is very profitable when it comes to these countries. I am not an advocate for any sort of violence. I think that cooler heads do need to prevail on this. It only benefits one kind of party, right? And you can even ask yourself, why is the United States even stepping in this war? Because I don't think that it benefits, personally speaking, not to get political, I'm still questioning, why this even benefits the United States. I think that most people are very, very disappointed with what the administration, the government's doing. And it's just people are getting so caught up in the politics of this that they're not really wondering or questioning what's going on behind the scenes. And so I've always been of the opinion, right? I think that you're always going to be disappointed whenever it comes to the government, no matter what side you're on, what country you're in. And the best thing you can do is set yourself up financially to where you're able to be put in a position of power to where you can basically protect yourself and your loved ones' lives. So with that being said, I am overall bullish on this whole price action of what I think is going to play out, because unfortunately they're going to have to print money. They're going to have to make a lot of money in different various ways. And that's ultimately going to go back into the stock market. It's going to attribute to inflation, which is going to make your assets go up. Hard assets, gold, silver, Bitcoin, those are all going to benefit from this, unfortunately. So I'm continuing to dollar cost average. If there's any more significant crashing of prices going on, because I think that there is going to be, I'm a buyer of that. So with that being said, I'm going to be cutting this video a little bit short. If you have any questions or any kind of topics on this sort of, chain of events that's going on, feel free to drop in the comment section. I can make tutorial videos or educational videos based on, how I'm buying these or my current investing strategies. Obviously, I don't give financial advice, but I do love to help you guys. So with that being said, stay safe, guys. Reach out to loved ones. I know that people are not always just in the United States that watch this channel. So if you're of any country being affected, I hope the best for you guys. I hope that you guys are staying safe. And again, I hope that cooler heads are going to prevail and that we're going to come to some sort of peace, but that remains to be seen. So with that being said, bye guys.